VAR didn't quite get that right. Oh, look at that!
Ibrahimović. Goed ingehouden. En nu dan een keer schiet ook. Oh!
He was never supposed to become a football legend. Born and raised in Rosengård, a rough district in Malmö, Sweden, Zlatan Ibrahimović grew up surrounded by challenges most people could not understand. Poverty, instability, and constant struggle were part of everyday life. While other children trained in structured academies with perfect conditions, Zlatan learned football in a completely different way. On concrete streets, in small cages, where survival mattered more than style. There were no rules in his world, only instinct. From an early age, Zlatan showed something unusual. Not just talent, but attitude. He played with confidence that others considered arrogance. He dribbled past older kids, refused to back down, and always believed he was the best player on the pitch, even when nobody else agreed. Coaches noticed his ability immediately, but they also noticed the problem. He didn't fit in. He was too unpredictable, too confident, too difficult to control. But Zlatan never changed. When he eventually joined Malmö FF, the biggest club in his hometown, people started to see flashes of something special. His physical strength, technical ability, and creativity made him stand out instantly. Scouts from Europe began to pay attention. And soon, a life-changing opportunity arrived. A move to Ajax Amsterdam. In the Netherlands, everything changed. At Ajax, Zlatan Ibrahimović entered a world of discipline, structure, and tactical education. For the first time, he was forced to refine his raw street style into something more complete. And slowly, it worked. His talent began to evolve. He scored goals that looked impossible. He destroyed defenders with skill, power, and confidence that felt unnatural for his age. One moment in particular defined his early rise. A solo goal where he dribbled past multiple defenders as if they weren't even there. It wasn't just a goal. It was a statement. Zlatan was not ordinary, but even at Ajax, his personality remained unchanged. He clashed with teammates, questioned decisions, and refused to accept limits placed on him. For some, he was a genius. For others, he was a problem waiting to explode. But for Zlatan, there was only one truth. He trusted himself more than anyone else. And that mindset followed him into the next step of his journey, Juventus. In Italy, football was different. It was tactical, defensive, and mentally demanding. Many young attackers struggled under the pressure. But Zlatan adapted quickly. He became stronger, smarter, and more complete as a striker. He learned how to read the game, how to control space, and how to dominate defenders, not just with skill, but with intelligence. At Juventus, he stopped being just a talented youngster. He became a real threat, and from there, his rise in European football had officially begun. After his time at Juventus, Zlatan Ibrahimović was no longer just a young talent. He had already proven himself in one of Europe's toughest leagues. Stronger, sharper, and more complete. He had become a real force in football. But as his level rose, so did expectations. At Juventus, he played inside a strict tactical system built on discipline and structure. He adapted quickly, but was never fully comfortable being limited by rigid instructions. He wanted more freedom, more responsibility, and more control over matches. That desire led to a major move: Inter Milan. At Inter, Zlatan reached another level. He became the central figure of the team. Not just a striker, but the focal point of everything Inter did in attack. When the team needed goals, he delivered. When they needed dominance, he provided it season after season. He carried the team in big moments. Goals came regularly, performances stayed consistent, and trophies followed. By this point, Zlatan was one of the most feared strikers in the world. Defenders knew that even a small mistake against him could decide games fans expected brilliance every time he stepped onto the pitch, and he fully embraced that pressure. He thrived on it, but then came the move that changed everything: Fete Barcelona. On paper, it looked perfect. One of the greatest teams in football history, led by Pep Guardiola. Built on possession movement and tactical intelligence, many expected Zlatan Ibrahimović to elevate the team even further. At first it worked. He scored goals, he contributed to victories, he played alongside world-class players in a team dominating Europe. But slowly problems began to appear. Barcelona's system demanded strict discipline. Every movement had structure. Every player had a defined role. Individual freedom was limited because the system itself was the priority. For Zlatan, this became difficult. He was a player who relied on instinct power and unpredictability. He needed space to impose himself on the game. But in Barcelona, he started to feel restricted. At the same time, Lionel Messi was becoming the central figure of the team. Everything in attack was built around him, and Zlatan's role slowly shifted away from being the main reference. Frustration started to grow. Under Pep Guardiola, tactical demands became stricter, training sessions were highly structured, and individual expression was reduced to fit the system. The relationship between player and coach began to break down. What was supposed to be a dream partnership turned into tension communication. Faded expectations clashed, and the balance collapsed. Eventually, Zlatan Ibrahimović left Barcelona. After his departure, criticism followed immediately. Many said he could not adapt to systems he did not control. Others questioned his mentality. Some believed his career at the top was fading. But Zlatan never saw it that way. To him, it was not the end, just another chapter in a career built on belief and refusal to be limited. And that mindset would define everything that came next. After leaving Barcelona, Zlatan Ibrahimović returned to Italy with many questions surrounding him. Critics believed he could not adapt to structured systems, and some thought his time at the very top might be fading. But Zlatan never accepted that narrative. At Inter Milan, he returned to familiar ground and immediately showed that his level had not dropped. If anything, he became more efficient and more focused. He had learned from the Barcelona experience and added more control to his natural instinct. He was no longer just playing with power and confidence. He was combining that with intelligence and timing. At Inter, Zlatan was once again the central figure of the team. He decided matches with goals and presence season after season. He delivered in big moments and carried responsibility when it mattered most. Defenders still feared him, fans still expected magic, and he continued to deliver under pressure. But the next chapter would bring a different challenge. AC Milan. When Zlatan arrived at AC Milan, the club was not at its peak. Milan was in a rebuilding phase, struggling with consistency and identity. Many saw his arrival as a short-term solution, a veteran presence to stabilize the team. But Zlatan saw it differently. He did not come to retire. He came to change things. From the beginning, he became more than a striker. He became a leader in the dressing room. He demanded a discipline, intensity, and belief from everyone around him, especially younger players. His impact was immediate. On the pitch, he scored goals off the pitch. He changed mentality. Milan began to play with more confidence and structure. Slowly, the team started to rise again. Even in his 30s, Zlatan remained decisive. He adjusted his game, relying more on positioning experience and timing rather than pure physical dominance. But the presence remained the same. Opponents still respected him, teammates still relied on him, and fans still expected moments of brilliance. Injuries became more frequent as time passed, but Zlatan always returned with the same mindset. He refused to fade quietly. He refused to lower expectations, and he refused to be defined by age. Every comeback reinforced his identity as a player who thrived on challenge and pressure. AC Milan gradually transformed from a struggling team into a competitive force again, and Zlatan played a key role in that transformation, not only as a scorer, but as a symbol of mentality. He was no longer just a player, he was a standard for confidence, discipline, and belief. And as his career moved deeper into its final phase, one thing became clear. Zlatan Ibrahimović was not just extending his career, he was reshaping how people viewed longevity in football. As Zlatan Ibrahimović entered the final stage of his career, most players would naturally slow down and fade from top-level football. But Zlatan refused to follow that path. Instead, he chose a different ending. His move to LA Galaxy surprised many. Some saw it as retirement, others as a farewell tour, but Zlatan saw it as another stage to prove himself. From the start, he made an immediate impact. He scored goals that felt impossible, long-range shots, acrobatic finishes, and instinctive moments. Every match became a highlight reel, and every goal carried his confidence. He did not go there to disappear, he went to dominate. Off the pitch, his personality remained strong. His interviews were bold. His statements fearless, and his self-belief never changed. People called it arrogance, but Zlatan called it honesty. After the United States, another return came. AC Milan. Many thought this would be the final chapter, but Zlatan proved otherwise. Instead of fading, he became important again. At Milan, he became a leader for a young team. He was no longer only a striker. He was a standard for mentality and professionalism. He demanded intensity, discipline, and belief from teammates and pushed them to think bigger. On the pitch, he still delivered goals. Even at an advanced age, he adapted his game using positioning, timing, and experience instead of pure physical power. But his impact went beyond numbers. He changed the mentality of the club. Milan became stronger, more stable, and more competitive again. And Zlatan played a key role in that rise. Even with injuries and age, he refused to accept decline. Every comeback showed the same mindset. And in the end, Zlatan Ibrahimović became more than a footballer. He became a symbol. A symbol of confidence, resilience, and individuality in a sport that often demands conformity. People called it arrogance, but for him it was belief. A belief that started in Rosengård and carried him through Europe and beyond. He never changed who he was. He never lowered his identity. And that is his legacy. Not only goals, not only trophies, but a mindset that refused limits. Zlatan Ibrahimović did not just play football. He redefined belief.